The Frog Prince. How can a frog be a prince? I guess we'll find out. Let's see here. Once there was a young princess named Jade who decided to go for a walk in the forest. She brought along her kitten Minerva and her favorite toy, a small golden ball. When she came to a beautiful, cool spring, she sat down to rest. While Minerva chased butterflies, Jade tossed her ball and caught it again. After a time, she tossed it too hard, and the ball fell into the spring. The princess peered into it, but the water was too deep. She could not see her golden ball. "Oh, oh," she cried, "I would give all my jewels and beautiful clothes if only I could have my golden ball back." While she was sobbing by the side of the spring, an ugly frog stuck his head out of the water. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Why are you crying?" "You can't help me," she said. "You're only an ugly frog." But the frog told her he could get her ball. All he wanted in return was to live with her, to eat from her plate, and to sleep in her bed. Now this seemed very strange, but Jade thought the frog would never come to the palace. So she agreed to do as the frog wished. The frog swam to the bottom of the spring, brought up the golden ball in his mouth, and dropped it at her feet. Wow, that's some frog. Look at that. Here's the golden ball. Okay, we got to focus. It's kind of annoying noise, but there we go. Let's see. Jade was so happy that she grabbed her golden ball and ran home with Minerva, forgetting all about the frog. After all, how could a frog leave its home in the spring? "Wait!" called the frog after her, but Jade ran on. The next day, just as the royal family sat down to dinner, there was a knock at the door. The princess answered it. To her amazement, there sat a frog. He began to sing, "Princess, my princess, I pray I'm not too late. I'll sleep in your bed, I'll eat from your plate." The princess was so frightened to see him that she slammed the door and went back to the table. Uh-oh, she's not living up to her end of the bargain. "Who was there?" asked the king. What a strange little song," remarked the queen. When Jade told them the story, the king shook his head and said, "If you gave your word, you must keep it, Jade." Her mother agreed, so Jade went to the door and let the frog in. He came tap, tap, splash, splash across the marble floor. Then he gave a leap and was sitting beside Jade at the table. "Move your plate closer so that I may eat from it," he begged, and Jade did. When they were finished, he and Minerva followed her up the marble steps to her bedroom. Jade felt sure that he could not sleep a wink with that frog in her bed, but he rolled himself into the edge of the covers and stayed quite out of her way, so all three slept soundly. When morning came, the frog gave a little bow, hopped down the stairs, and went off towards the forest. Jade hugged Minerva close and breathed a sigh. "Ah, that's the end of him," she told Minerva. But the next evening, just as the royal family sat down to dinner, there was a knock at the door. Jade opened it, and there was the ugly frog as before, singing his song again. Before she could say, "Go away," he had tapped, splashed across the floor and leaped into her chair as before. Minerva hissed and arched her back, but Jade moved her plate closer to the frog. When they were finished, he hopped up the marble stairs behind her and leaped into her bed. That night, Jade didn't mind the frog too much. After all, he was a polite frog, and he sang so very nicely. The next morning, the frog returned to the forest. On the third night, he was back again. Jade was starting to wonder if the frog was going to make his home with her. Jade was starting to wonder if the frog was going to make his home with her. She thought it might not be so very bad. He seemed kind and might make a good friend. Even Minerva didn't mind as much. The frog ate from her plate and climbed into her bed as usual the third night. But before he fell asleep, he sang another song. You have to keep your word, and now at sunrise you will be rewarded with a big surprise. The princess wondered about it for a long time before she fell asleep. Whatever could that frog mean? I guess we'll find out. When Jade awoke at sunrise, she was astonished to see the most handsome prince she could ever have imagined. He was standing by her bed gazing at her. The frog was gone. The prince's name was Roland. He told her he had long been enchanted by a wicked fairy. The fairy had changed him into a frog and thrown him into the forest spring. You will remain a frog, she said, until some princess lets you eat from her plate and sleep in her bed for 3 nights. And so you did. Prince Roland said, Come with me to my father's kingdom and be my wife. I will love you as long as I live. Well, isn't that something? Jade could hardly believe what was happening. Yes, she said, I will marry you. They ran downstairs to tell the wonderful news to the king and queen. Jade's parents were amazed to see a strange prince in their house, but Roland explained about the enchantment and the fairy. And then this morning, there he was, standing by my bed, Jade exclaimed, and I knew I wanted to marry him. Even when he was still a frog, I had started to care for him. True kindness and goodness cannot be disguised by an ugly appearance. Jade's father gave his blessing to the young couple and thanks to Prince Roland. You have taught my daughter Jade not only the meaning of patience, but the importance of being true to one's word, said the king. Soon afterward, Princess Jade and Prince Roland were married in a beautiful palace ceremony. Nearly everyone from around the kingdom came to see the prince, miraculously transformed from a frog to a handsome young man because of Jade's good deed. Then, with a tearful farewell, the couple departed for Roland's native country. There his parents, the king and the queen of the land, made them welcome. From that day forward, Jade was careful how she treated small animals of the forest, for she was never exactly sure which one was bewitched and which one was not. And that is the end. See you soon.